Hi, I'm Cher Kaufmann. Have you ever wondered how to use a white pencil? Well, I want to introduce you to the white pencil as a tool, not just an invisible color that doesn't necessarily show up except for when you want whites. There's actually a really great way to use white pencil, which is either underneath your color or on top of your color. And let me show you how. The example that I'm going to show you is here, right within these leaves. So here I'm just using 3 colors and maintaining a dark, a mid, and a highlight tone in my leaves, but I'm going to use this white pencil in a way that actually begins to move these colors together as if I had a blending pencil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as a softening agent between layers. In other words, I'm using this white pencil to smooth these colors together, and this is basically blending. Now yes, when you use a white pencil this way, you will find that some of your colors will lighten. So if you want those really deep, dark colors, a white pencil may or may not affect your end result. But what you can do is you can go over with your other dark layers, providing that you haven't put too much pressure down. If you put too much pressure down with that white pencil, you might find that you begin to flatten the tooth of the paper, and that's the part that grips the pigment. So you want to be careful that you're moving the pigment, but you're not necessarily flattening the pigment. And then I can go ahead and add my colors on top of that. I can continue to add layers as long as the tooth of the paper is smoothed out, but the trick is really right in this white colored layer, the smoothing out. It really begins to smooth out the layers between those greens, so I don't end up with a dark green, light green highlight. I end up with a nice smooth color because this pencil is basically having the same binding agents, and it's got a wonderful, nice, smooth move to it. So the next way to do it is actually to use the white pencil first. So I'm going to put white pencil down here, and what I'm imagining is that this is where my highlights might be. This is where I want it to be a little bit lighter. And what I'm doing is I'm asking that white pencil to act a little bit as a resist. Now resist means that it doesn't allow whatever you want to have down, it kind of pushes that off a little bit. So in this, if I am very careful and I use my pencils in a very light way, I'll notice that they begin to change right over the areas where I have that white pencil. And I'll begin to feel the difference also, as it has a different kind of feel when that wax is there. There's a softer space right there as I'm going over in my white pencil area, and I can kind of feel and work around where I had that white pencil, and it begins to create a natural highlight without me working very hard to get there. And I can do this with any of my colors, providing that I'm allowing myself to work very lightly as I go over those areas with that white color underneath. And then I can begin to blend a little bit with maybe my highlight pencil here. And that white pencil underneath is really going to allow those highlights to show up without having to do a lot of highlight work on top of it, because it already will be existing. Even if I put a little bit of my light color on top of that, it's still going to show up a little bit lighter because my white pencil underneath has already provided that space. It already has wax down. So that's another way to work with that highlight, is underneath, and there's a nice way to begin to move them together on top. Now for those that want to have highlights where you're using your white pencil for highlights, one of the things that's suggested is that you actually use the white of your paper and not color things in or have your white pencil be the part that is doing all the highlighting. You really want that natural color to come right through so that you can have some of that white already in there that is more of that natural color from the paper itself. It actually is less work for you if you just sort of leave that open, and then you can use your white pencil to smooth things out like the blender. I'm speeding up the video just so that you can see the technique, because coloring takes time. Now I'm going to show you, if I take my white pencil and I begin to color in here, you're not really going to see it. You don't really see that whiteness that's in there that way. So if you use the color of your paper and allow that to be some of the white, you'll actually get kind of that brighter sheen because the light is bouncing directly right off of your paper for that. And one last little thing, if you decide to use your pencil as a blender, remember that it also has a burnishing effect. Now, a burnisher is when you are pressing hard enough to actually move those layers all into a single layer, and it's always done last because you're really pressing hard on the tooth of your paper, which means it's going to really flatten out. But it is a really nice way of creating a real smooth effect. If you'd like to use your white pencil, that's a really nice way to do that. So if I press really hard, I'm going to really move these layers together. And it will be the last layer that I'm going to do because it flattens out the tooth of my paper. But it will really smooth these out. This is really nice when you want to have a shine on something in particular. So you can see the difference between this and this is that it has a really nice smoothed out effect. But once I'm burnishing, I'm really pressing hard in here. But my white pencil has the ability to help me do that if I want to kind of also create kind of a lighter effect by using a little bit of white on top. Now it's your turn. Find your style. Have fun.